This is Surrey Sound, and this is Philip Grant with the May edition of the Book Club. This month's club, we're looking, amongst other things, at travel guides, and Tess Lewsey recently caught up with Madeline Riley and Tina Campey from Redhill Library.
Summer is supposed to be on the way. You wouldn't think it with the weather outside. It's pretty chilly at the moment. But do people come into the library to borrow books about holidays and travel?
Yes, all the time. Yes, we've got a big travel section, which is very popular. And we've also got a full set of Ordnance Survey maps, which are very popular at the moment. Yes, well, for people planning their holidays and things.
We have all the Explorer maps, or virtually all the Explorer maps. If it's not at Redhill Library, then ask, because we can always order them in for you. So if you're travelling in the UK, come and have a look at what Explorer maps that you road maps that you might want here. They are incredibly popular. People are starting, really since before Easter, in fact, started to sort of plan their sort of small breaks away, and then of course their main holidays.
So you can borrow the maps just like you borrow a book?
It's treated exactly the same as a book, yes. You have a 3-week borrow on that, and it goes on your library card if you do wish to have it for longer, because sometimes people do go away for 4 weeks, maybe 6 weeks. Do mention that to us, because very occasionally we will offer you a 6-week loan. Okay, particularly if you are travelling and you're taking an extended holiday. So do ask if 3 weeks isn't long enough for you to have in your library card for the map. Then do ask us, and we will actually put it on for 6 weeks for you.
Are there any particular publishers, such as DK Eyewitness travel guides? And what about food and drink guides as well?
We have the Lonely Planet guides and the Rough guides, and then AA guides, all sorts of different publishers. My preference, I think, is the Rough guides. We always buy those when we go away for any particular holiday, but each guide has a different slant. I think the American Express, we've got some of those as well. So I think they're probably sort of a bit more upmarket than, say, the Rough guide might be aimed at people travelling more on a budget. So you pick your guide to what sort of holiday you want.
Rough Guide, it's the biggest competition to Lonely Planet. Rough Guides came onto the travel scene in 1982, nonetheless, and also a guide for all budgets. But it definitely puts the emphasis on the lower budget end of your holiday. Rough Guide has fewer titles than Lonely Planet, and has less of an emphasis on logistics of travel, but overall has more background information and are a great companion to travelling in all parts of the globe. Rough Guide city titles from Chicago to Cape Town are especially good. The ideal user is the budget holidaymaker, independent worldwide traveller, or adventurous expat. Now, the Lonely Planet, it's the biggest travel guide book publisher. Lonely Planet has a quarter of the market sales and has been bought out by the BBC. It's been around since 1973, and they're tried and true, offering an enormous title selection from Bolivia to East Timor. But the bigger things are not always the better things. So, going back to Rough Guides, it puts an emphasis on the lower budget, and it gives more information that way. There's two different aspects of looking. Yeah, Lonely Planet for the big things, and the Rough Guides, like my colleague Madeline said, for your budget holidays and things like that. So yeah, there are other ones that, such as Brat guides are fine if you've got a substantial budget. So you're looking at people who are travelling across maybe Africa, or in a Land Rover and that sort of thing. But they lack a lot of the practical information for travelling around by public transportation and finding cheap accommodation. So this is your diamond end of the travel guide.
And what about the food and drink guides?
Now, we have had food and drink guides in Surrey libraries, but what we do have are the AA hotel guides, which actually contain a lot of the food and drink guides. So you're looking at your hotel guides, which do offer a food and drink emphasis within the book. So we certainly have that here, and we're really lucky that we've got the 2017 hotel guide by the AA. So that's really a really comprehensive book to actually go by. The only problem is that it's a reference book only, so that does mean that you cannot take it out on your library card. But please do feel free to actually come into the library and peruse it. You can sit at one of our desks, and you can sit and make notes and see what's available in the UK if you're looking for a hotel. Don't forget though our food and drink books upstairs, because if you're thinking of food and drink and holidays and whatever, our food and drink section in Redhill Library, as in any of the 52 Surrey libraries, pretty comprehensive. So that will also offer you an idea. Actually, amongst there are one or two books about best food and drink places.
So they don't just cover the UK, say abroad as well?
We only cover our hotel guides only cover UK hotel guides. The best way forward, if you're looking to go abroad and for the best hotel and the sort of food you want, would be the internet.
The internet. Where would we be without the internet? Right, one or two other, talking about guides to do with food and drink. Well, drink in particular, too, which I do want to mention, which many people use as a starting point. The Good Pub Guide is a long-running publication that lists and rates public houses in the UK, and it's released annually in book form. Now, this guide reviews pubs, but entries tend to be paid for by the pubs themselves, so it's not necessarily an independent guide. The other beer guide, of course, is published by the Campaign for Real Ale, and it's called the Good Beer Guide, and this is all about the beer. Obviously, the pubs listed in it are very good, because if you serve good beer, the chances are it's going to be a great pub, there's going to be great food and all the rest of it. But unlike the Good Pub Guide, the Good Beer Guide, publicans don't have a say in the selection. It's based on the quality of the beer only, and the pubs are chosen by local camera members. So those are two guides there which are worth having. I know some people have a copy of the Good Beer Guide in their car, so that when they are travelling around they can look for somewhere to stop off, have a drink, and also something to eat. So there we are.
Surrey Sound Book Club.
This is the May edition of the Surrey Sound Book Club. My name is Philip Grant. Now, if you're of a certain age to have a bus pass, then this is a book for you. It's a book called Bus Pass Britain, and this new edition of the Bus Pass Britain is a colourful celebration of travelling by bus around the British Isles. Going to be a bumpy old journey. Anyway, this book features a selection of 50 favourite bus routes as submitted by members of the public. This is in response to a competition held by the publisher Brat. And these favourite bus routes reveal a wonderful mosaic of journeys across Britain, from the leafy meander through the home counties to the exhilarating seascapes of the northeast coast of Britain and Scotland. Its book has been described as evocative and fun, and it reveals how free bus passes have encouraged a new generation of keen explorers. Hey, this is maybe an idea for a holiday next year. Each journey includes recommendations on where to stop and explore, provides details of inspiring sights, suggested walks, and the best local cafes, pubs and restaurants. And all the practical details are in there: bus times, the length and duration of each route, as well as travel connections. That's all provided. So that's a pretty good book. I was looking through it the other day, and some nice ideas in there. On to foreign guides. Tina mentioned that at the Redhill Library they have some foreign guides, but they do tend to be in the reference section, so you may want to kind of go out and buy something if you know where you're going. I quite like the DK Eyewitness Travels books, which, in fact, the one I've got in front of me is Germany, which is where I'm going on holiday later on this year. But it gives very detailed descriptions of not just the places, but places to eat, drink, stay, local culture, as well as how to kind of get around in the country. Similar book, which perhaps a little bit small and not quite so bulky, are the Marco Polo pocket guides. And again, they do them by country and also certain cities like Dublin. And if you're thinking of a gap year? We've spoken about holiday ideas for people of a certain age who've got bus passes. What about if you've got a student pass or a young person's pass? Come across this book by Tamsin King. It's called Gap Year Adventures, an essential pocket guide to making it count. Our gap years are an ideal way to get new experiences and unforgettable moments during your university time. Well, it doesn't have to be just while you're going to university or before you go to university. You could take that gap year after your school has finished and before you get a job. But how do you make the most of your time out? This guide is packed with exciting and creative ideas that will take you all over the world. So whether you're in search of a thrilling outdoor activity or a spiritual awakening, this book will give you plenty of ideas. So it's called Gap Year Adventures, an essential pocket guide to make it count. And the author is Tamsin King and the publisher is Summersdale Publishers.
Surrey Sound Book Club.
Now, I don't know whether you've read Peter Mail's A Year in Provence. There's also the ITV drama on at the moment called The Durrells, whether you've watched any of that. Anyway, let's catch up with Tess Lewsey and her chat with Tina Campey and Madeline Riley from Redhill Library. And she asked them whether books like that or TV programmes like that provide an insight to life in another country or whether they paint a rose-tinted picture.
If you have any television adaptations of books, such as The Durrells, centred on Gerald Durrell and his love and conservation of animals, I mean, that's all set in Corfu, I believe it is. And, of course, it does the Greek market no end of good, because people all want to go there and share that experience. It's wonderful. Any Sunday drama series will, and if it's set in a certain location, it offers a taste, doesn't it? I liked the first series of the Durrells, and it's very zany and quirky. Yeah, there used to be another one, didn't they? They did of the Durrell story, with Brian Blessed as Spiros, and he was the most amazing Spiros. Brian Blessed, he was loud and it was just yes. So and I can remember that, but this version is completely different, and I think it's much more human and funnier. Yeah. So yeah, I do concur that I think it does help. Yeah, when you have a television adaptation of something and they all want to go and everyone wants to go there.
And what about history and wildlife? Any books that give historic content of maybe a holiday destination without getting too heavy?
The Spring Watch crew, when and Winter Watch, when they go out to various destinations for their spring and winter watches and autumn watches, I think they go to Wales, they go down to Dorset, don't they? I think it's a great thing. That they do, because they encourage the actual tourist industry, the wetlands and things like that. So yeah, it can't be bad, really.
We have a lot of true books, and so there's people's sort of experiences, and so a lot of them are people travelling abroad and their adventures. There's that guy who carried his fridge around Ireland, isn't it? And those true books are really popular. So I do think people do want to sort of get a sense of a place before they go. I mean, I know I always like to read up on around a place.
So what about the children? Obviously the adults would come in to take out a map or maybe a book on a destination where they'd like to go, but sometimes children are interested in where they're going on holiday as well, or even just for a project for school. What do you have in the children's section?
We have we are lucky here, particularly at Redhill. We have a really good world section, and that offers up books on most major countries of our world, whether they are travelling to Spain or whether they're going to experience a completely wonderful adventure in Africa or New Zealand or South Africa, or even the Antarctic, the cold areas of the world. We're really lucky. We have some great non-fiction information books for children on countries. There's a couple of really good books down there on flags. Now, children love flags. They find them very, very interesting. I think from a child's point of view, it is.
Really, my son knows every flag of the world. He can show him a flag and he'll tell you what country it is, and he's been interested in that since he was tiny. Yeah, well, I think we had a jigsaw puzzle with all the flags of the world, and he learnt it from there.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
it's
funny.
funny.
Yeah.
Very educational.
It is. So so our world section, brilliant. Yeah, so I can honestly say that. Great if schools are doing projects on a particular country. And of course if you can't see the country there on the shelf, because obviously there is high demand for projects, you need to ask us. We're here to be asked. We can get copies from other libraries in. On a child's book, there is no charge.
Tina and Madeline, thank you very much yet again, and we'll catch up with you next month.
Thank
Thank you.
Thank you.
Surrey Sound Book Club.
Time now to look at a couple of new releases I've come across. Well, a couple of fiction books and one non-fiction. Talk about the non-fiction one first. This is quite an intriguing book. It's called A Day in the Life of the Brain, and it's by Susan Greenfield, published by Penguin Books. Neuroscientist Susan Greenfield, she attempts to penetrate the mysteries of consciousness through a detailed examination of the human brain during one 24-hour cycle. Dread to think what is going through my brain over the space of 24 hours. The book is full of arresting insights into our mental processes, and it also reveals the latest thinking on dreams. That sounds pretty good, actually. It's called A Day in the Life of the Brain by Susan Greenfield, published by Penguin. Two fiction books I've got here. Do Not Say We Have Nothing is the title of a book by Madeline, and it's described as a panoramic novel. It tells the story of several generations of an extended Chinese family, and it takes place at the time of the Cultural Revolution and the events that unfolded in Tiananmen Square. The narrator in the book, as it's written that way, struggles to come to terms with the suicide of her musical father, and she opens a political and emotional Pandora's box. It's published by Granter. It's called Do Not Say We Have Nothing, and it's written by Madeline Thine. And the other fiction book I've got by Linda Grant, no relation, it's called The Dark Circle. It's based in the early 1950s and is the story of two young Jewish kids from London, a brother and sister called Lenny and Miriam. And at that stage, life seems to be full of possibilities. But then they are diagnosed with tuberculosis and sent to a sanatorium. It's a sharply observed novel that captures a class-bound Britain yet to come to terms with the modern era. That's a book called The Dark Circle by Linda Grant, published by Virago Books. So those are three new books there, which certainly look well worth reading.
Surrey Sound Book Club.
Have you read the Paula Hawkins book, Girl on the Train? When I first read it, I wasn't quite sure at first. It was narrated in quite an unusual way, basically telling the story from the perspective of three different females. The end of it, I was absolutely mesmerised, thought it was a fantastic book and couldn't wait to see how it all finished off. Not quite so sure about the film, though. The film was set in New York, although it did feature Emily Blunt, who retained her very English accent, but the book itself was based in and around London. Whether that's important or not, I don't know. But anyway, 2 years ago, the author, Paula Hawkins, was struggling for a living. She was living in a flat in Brixton with her ex-boyfriend. She was working to clear off debts to her parents, and she was just wondering if this book, The Girl on the Train, which she described as her last throw of the dice, would really save her as a writer. Apparently she'd been struggling as a financial journalist and then failed as a chick list novelist under another name, Amy Silver. Don't know whether you've come across that. But then she and her agent sold half of an unfinished novel to the publisher. Publisher obviously liked it, and this unfinished novel went on to become The Girl on the Train, and the rest is history, as they say. But how do you follow that when you've had a successful book? Well, she's got a new book out. It's out this month. It's called Into the Water. And what is it about? It's a gothic thriller about drownings, witch dunkings, suicides and possible murders. And it all takes place in a remote northern village. It's a dark tale and perhaps even more of a challenge to the reader, as the story is told in multitude of voices. So that's a book's called Into the Water, and it's a new novel by Paula Hawkins, which, as I say, is out this month. Anyway, that's it for this month's edition of the Surrey Sound Book Club. My name has been Philip Grant.